If you're like most people, you're probably fascinated by the science of human behavior. After all, understanding why we do the things we do can help us to make better choices in our own lives, and can also help us to better understand and empathize with others. That's why today, we're taking a look at 8 of the most amazing, insane, and downright fascinating scientific facts about human behavior. Some of these facts may surprise you, and some may even make you question your own behavior, but all of them are sure to leave you with a greater understanding of why we humans do the things we do. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Number 1. Humans are hardwired to procrastinate. If you're a chronic procrastinator, you can blame your brain. Research has shown that we're actually hardwired to procrastinate, thanks to a part of the brain known as the amygdala. This region is responsible for arousal and motivation, and it also happens to be very good at quickly assessing whether a task is likely to be enjoyable or not. If the amygdala decides that a task is going to be unpleasant, it sends out a message to the rest of the brain telling it to avoid the task. This is why we often find ourselves putting off tasks that we know we should be doing, like going to the gym or doing taxes. Our brains are just trying to protect us from unpleasantness. Number 2. We are more likely to take risks when we're around others. Have you ever noticed that you're more likely to take risks when you're around other people? There's a scientific reason for this. When we're by ourselves, we're more likely to focus on the potential downside of a risky situation. But when we're with others, we're more likely to focus on the potential rewards. This is known as the social facilitation effect, and it's rooted in evolutionary biology. When our ancestors were living in small groups, it was important for everyone to be on the lookout for danger. But when they were in larger groups, it was less essential for everyone to be on constant alert. And so the social facilitation effect helps to encourage risk-taking. Number 3. We're more likely to conform to others' opinions. Have you ever found yourself agreeing with someone, even if you didn't actually believe what they were saying? This happens more often than you might think. In fact, there's a whole field of study devoted to this phenomenon. It's called social psychology. One of the most famous experiments in this field was conducted by Solomon Asch in the 1950s. He showed participants a line and then asked them to compare it to other lines and say which one was the longest. The catch was that all the other participants were secretly working with Asch, and they all gave the same wrong answer. Remarkably, 75% of the time, the real participants went along with the group and gave the same wrong answer. This experiment demonstrates just how powerful the need to conform to others can be. Number 4. We're more likely to trust people who look like us. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant connection with them, even though you didn't really know them? There's a good chance that this had something to do with how similar they look to you. Studies have shown that we're more likely to trust people who look like us. This is likely because, from an evolutionary standpoint, it would have been more beneficial to trust people who were genetically similar to us. After all, they were more likely to have our best interests at heart. Number 5. We're more likely to help others if they're wearing red. Want to make people more likely to help you? Wear red. A study published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology found that people were more likely to offer assistance to someone who was wearing red. But why red? The researchers believe that it's because red is a color that's associated with danger and urgency. So when we see someone who is wearing red, our brain interprets this as a sign that they need our help. Interesting, eh? Number 6. We're more likely to trust people who have similar sounding names. This one might seem a bit far-fetched, but bear with us. Studies have shown that we're more likely to trust people who have names that are similar to our own. For example, if your name is Mary, you're more likely to trust someone whose name is Meredith than someone whose name is Hannah. So why does this happen? Well, one theory is that because we mistakenly believe that people who share our name must also share our characteristics. So if we're trusting and honest, we assume that someone with a similar name must be trusting and honest as well. Number 7. Those that swear tend to be more honest. Studies have shown that people who swear more often are actually more honest. The reason for this is no surprise. Studies have shown that people who are more comfortable with swearing are more likely to be truthful and less likely to censor themselves. Number 8. The average person laughs about 17 times a day. Laughter is a social signal that helps to build bonds between people and can even be contagious. When we laugh, it releases endorphins, which are hormones that make us feel good. Laughter is also a way to communicate our feelings and to relieve stress. It can be a positive experience for everyone involved, whether it's with our friends, family, or coworker. So don't forget to laugh more. Have you reached your 17 times yet today? It's fascinating to think about how our brains influence our behavior. Though we may not always be aware of it, much of what we do is driven by instinct and subconscious cues. Next time you find yourself procrastinating or taking a risk, remember that it's just your brain at work. We hope you learned something from the facts about human behavior presented today. Do you have any more to add? Let us know in the comments. And if you've stuck around this long, you've already helped this channel out so much, so thank you. And if you found this video helpful, please consider hitting the subscribe button and bell icon so that you don't miss our next video. We'll see you next time for some more quotable wisdom.